Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. Welcome to Check-In. I am Sarah Roleski alongside Jamie Thomas, and we're looking forward over the next 30 or so minutes to get you set for tonight's game between the Winnipeg Jets and Detroit Red Wings as the Jets head out on what is relatively now, I'd say, a quick 2-game road trip, playing tonight in Detroit.
Why did they even come home?
Wow.
Oh, because the Leafs were here. That's why they had to schedule. We have to have the Leafs on. Anyways, carry on.
And then on Friday,
they
play in Columbus as well before coming home for a much longer stretch, which you know the players are looking forward to as well, because that one game home is certainly, it can be a challenge when you're coming in off of the road.
Phyllis, good to see you. Well, thanks for making it to the show this year. Or this first time around. Finally remembered, made it to the show. Thank you. We appreciate you joining us. We're going to have the question of the day here momentarily. Don't forget tomorrow. I know you pretty much know this already, but Halloween is just around the corner. So some fun photos to share with you a little bit later in the show. And then a great question of the day to go along with that to get you going back. So back to your childhood. We'll bring that up to you a little bit later.
Not necessarily childhood either.
True.
You never know.
The last time you dressed up or something like that. So a little bit for Halloween.
Just to clarify,
be clear about when you dressed up last.
So this is tonight's Jets Wings game, one of 6 games on the NHL schedule. Of course, they only play each other 2 times a year. January 4th, the next meeting, it'll be here at Canada Life Center. Always a game that, you know, the Michigan guys look forward to going back to. Connor Hellebuck getting the start net. Kyle Connor, just 1 point away from 500.
Yeah, so 4-point night against Toronto on Monday. 1 point away, as Sarah said. And that had the hat trick stolen from him by his line mate, Gabriel Velarde. But I'm sure he's fine with it. $4.99. So they always do enjoy going back home. There used to be a much larger Michigan contingent years ago, but now it's just Connor Hellebuck and Kyle Connor.
Yes, we are looking forward to having Gary Galley join us to help set up the game. It is a Sportsnet game this evening. And then Max Boltman from The Athletic, who covers the Wings, will be stopping by. Looking forward to that to give us a little bit of perspective on what's happening with Detroit early on in this season. But let's start with the question of the day. Oh, what would it be?
Well, I mean, ties in. What is your listen, I know Sarah said that we could talk about them. What is your favorite Halloween costume from childhood? Or you can talk about your adult days, whatever. Just the other day, my wife needed a costume 3 days before Halloween and asked me to go find her one.
How'd that go over?
Well,
do you want to talk about that?
I do. So like how the pressure comes on me to find the costume. And just today, my son, who's in high school right now, decides he wants a Halloween costume the day before. So a lot of procrastination in the Thomas household.
It's happy times in the Thomas household right now.
Don't worry, Dad will take care of it. Oh, do you want me to show it?
Let's see it.
Okay.
Let's see what you came up with.
How about this? So this is the only thing, and I was joking because there was the sexy angel and there was the sexy Red Riding Hood costume, which I'm not buying for my lovely wife. And I found this moose costume and I said to her, I'm like, how about this? And I was just joking. And she says, I love it. And I had to go all the way back to said place. I'm not giving any free advertisement here, but grab this bad boy, put it on, picked up my youngest kid from school the other day. She was not even impressed. Like, kids are so hard to impress. You think something's funny and they're just like not into it at all. So that is what I came up with.
But we do know that, especially over recent years, we see so many great costumes from different NHL players and teams. They really get into it, which I love. The Winnipeg Jets held their Halloween party, I want to say maybe last week.
Yeah. You want to go those?
Yeah, let's go. Let's see a little bit.
Obviously, they're going to be better than my costume.
I don't know. You put yours on in a parking lot, and we're willing to.
That's for my kids, though. So
there you go. Okay.
Okay, here we go.
What we got.
See, that's excellent.
Jersey Shore.
Thank you. I didn't even know what this is.
Neil Pionk and their wives looking great. What else did we have here? There are a number of them, and you're going to.
This is fantastic.
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Dylan Sandberg and his wife getting right into it. As I said, I mean, players love being able to get involved in this. I think that the wives and girlfriends do as well when selecting them.
This is from Dodgeball.
Yeah.
Okay, and last but not least, see, this is the best.
That is great.
So, Slav Domestikov looks like he's maybe 12 years old in that photo. So, Ehlers is shaggy.
It's fantastic. And there will be even more pictures that we're putting out on Winnipeg Jets social channels. So you want to be able to see them because they are.
I wasn't sure who was in the front for a bit. Then it's, of course, it's Scooby-Doo is Alex Iafallo.
Yeah, I did a double take as well.
And Nino Niederreiter, Dorothy, fantastic. So
there are so many good ones. Like I said, you want to check it out because it's always good for some laugh and always enjoy the effort that they put into it. But let's talk a little bit about tonight's game. And before we bring in our guests, you look at it, morning skates have come and gone in Detroit. And when you look at the Winnipeg Jets, what are expecting, we saw line juggling happening in that third period against the Leafs. But when you look at what we are expecting here for tonight, it does look like Scott Arniel, at least to start, is going to go back to what his previous lines and defensive combinations were. Mitchell Clinton, always there with the lines for us. So probably no surprise. We're not expecting to see any lineup changes, and we'll see how things go from here. Scott Arniel was asked about the fact that he's going back to the same lines as what he had before. And he did say that he's liked what they've done. Didn't like it in Toronto, obviously, but overall, when you look at the success that they had starting this season 8-0, he's happy with a lot of it. We'll give it a shot here tonight. The Wings went earlier. Home team always goes on the ice first. I'm keeping you busy.
Holy cow. Just hold on a second. Just wait. Keep going. Keep talking.
What we
Delay
don't,
everybody.
So there are some questions as to whether or
Distract
not
them,
they are going to go 12-6 or 11-7 today. Tarasenko suffering with illness right now, so a little bit of an unknown there. Ole Mata traded last night to Utah as well. You take a look at what the lines were, some familiar names there. I mean, not only overall just for hockey fans, but obviously for Winnipeg Jets fans with some former Jets there. Andrew Kopp having a great start to the season for it, and Ben Sherratt playing key minutes again on that pairing.
Yeah, with Jeff Petrie, of course, the veteran defenseman, Moritz Seider, of course, one of the top defensemen in the NHL, and Andrew Kopp with Comfer and Kane. We'll talk to Max Boltman about that pair, or that line coming up a little bit later, because it sounds like the Wings have settled on some a lineup that's been successful even after a 3-2 overtime loss to the Edmonton Oilers on the weekend.
Your goaltending battle going on tonight, no surprise. Connor Hellebuyck getting the start. Trying to find, I had it in here. So he is 6-4-1 career against Detroit, 282 goals against average, 911 save percentage. He's going up against Alex Lyon. Now, Alex is 31. It was really only last year that he really established himself more in the NHL, had played games here and there for a variety of other teams. There are only 6 players, I believe, on the Jets that have ever played against Alex, and nobody has scored against him yet. So look for that to change tonight.
We're hoping for that to change tonight. And I still think, the offensive output they had the other night, albeit it was not at 5-on-5, and that was certainly one of the issues for the Jets against the Maple Leafs on Monday, suffering their first loss of the year. But certainly at this point, we don't have any problems with the specialty teams.
Correct.
So, and it's so, I don't want to say ironic, but nice to see that you've got the special teams, almost 10 games in the season that have found a consistent theme, and only one game so far where 5-on-5 wasn't that good. So you have to where the Jets are sitting as they head onto this 2-game road trip.
And looking forward to seeing, and I know it sounds a little bit like a broken record when discussing special teams all the time, but because it has been such a significant storyline for the Jets in being able to get to 8-1 so far this season. Best power play, 44.4%. Detroit's PK has struggled this year. They are currently ranked 30th, although they have stopped 6 of their last 7 or gone 6 for 7 on the PK over their last couple of games. So maybe they're trending in the right direction, but still it's been a point of emphasis from everything that read out of Detroit over the last couple of days. They've had some practice time. That's something that they've really been working on.
I think so in the Eastern Conference, Detroit just barely missed the playoffs last year, and they had a furious end of the season, almost got in on the second to last day of the regular season. And you think, so you just when you look through the Eastern Conference, you're always going, okay, who's going to be the new, you're talking about these teams like Detroit, Montreal, Ottawa, trying to get in the playoffs, like who's coming out? And that's the big question, certainly in the Western Conference as well, where you have all these people and these teams that look to be on the up and up, but it's just getting past the Bostons in the Eastern Conference, the Torontos, Florida, Tampa Bay. It's a tough ask for a team like Detroit, who has works slow and been patiently building up this with Steve Eisman as the general manager, building to a point where you can compete in the Eastern Conference. But it's just like the guys that are there year over year don't seem to be wanting to step aside anytime soon.
You know what? Why don't we?
Oh, yes.
We'll talk a little bit after. We've got a clip from Josh Morrissey talking a little bit about.
What? Gary Galley's here. How about we go?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's start with that.
He's like, there he is. Gary Galley joining us from Detroit. And Gary, got the most important question out of the way first. You played a long time in the NHL. Halloween costumes are parties such a big deal with NHL teams right now. What were they like back in your day?
I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you.
So they were awesome, is what you're saying.
They were the best party of the year. There was a number of gatherings that a team goes through the course of a year when the schedule allows it, and teams are usually really grateful that the team gets together with, a lot of times with your spouses and sometimes with the kids and everything. But the Halloween party kind of sits in when the team is made, the schedule's already started. Families, especially new people that are acquired in the off season that are on a team, young kids that are joining the team. It's a chance to get together for the first time, and everybody kind of lets their hair down and kind of lets loose, and it is a good time. The costumes are normally outstanding. I will say now that I see more of bought costumes than I do see homemade costumes. Like I remember my first Halloween party pulling up to a teammate's house in Los Angeles, and there was a clothesline on the front yard, and there was two posts, and they were identically the same height, and there was a string of panties and underwear and bras and everything all along this clothesline, and they had been there for hours, and nobody could figure out who it was until the party started, and it ended up being Larry Playfair and his wife. And it was outstanding, and so that's the way it started off, and it just took off from there. But always a good time.
I didn't see that. I didn't know where you were going with that story. I thought I'm waiting and wait. I didn't anticipate that dedication. Very, very impressive.
Absolutely.
Gary, let's talk a little bit about what we have seen recently from the Jets, what you're expecting to see tonight in this game against Detroit. Jets obviously struggled with the Leafs in town on Monday night. They got down early 4-0 early into that second period. What is it that struck you most when watching that game, or what were you surprised about with respect to the Jets play?
Well, the Jets are off to a great start, and just to put that into perspective, they literally could play slightly over 500 the rest of the way and get a playoff spot, just by the number of points they've accumulated already. But that's not to say that that's what they're going to do. I'm just saying that's how great a start they've had. In saying that, it's a team's identity and who you are as a team and how you play. And the Jets definitely have an identity. They're a team that is really hard on you. They skate really well. They're physical. They're just a hard team to play against. They kind of wear you down. So when they play that way, they do have success, and they can win a lot of hockey games because you've got probably the best goaltender in the league in your net. And in the regular season, he has been absolute nails. And I think that's something that you gotta have in your pocket. You don't have to apologize for that. He's your goalie, and good on the Jets to have him, and he's playing fantastic. But when they get into trouble is when they struggle from the top of the circles down to their goal line. And that's what happened in the Toronto game. The Toronto was a really good team getting on pucks quickly. They can turn over pucks. I thought Winnipeg was sloppy in the early parts of that game. Their defensive zone coverages were lax. From pucks coming out from behind the net to the front of the net, there was not the positive coverage on people in the high slot and around. And Toronto is a team that can score goals, so they got up on them. But good on the Jets to come back and be resilient and keep playing hard. And guys are guys that you expect to be scoring are scoring, which is fantastic. Their bottom six has always been impressive to me. They always produce. They always put up numbers, and they accomplish a lot as a bottom six. And I think that's a really good sign. So I expect to see a bit of a bounce back game tonight. I think, here in Detroit. Detroit is a team that's amassed in that Atlantic division where if you're not the top two teams, which are from Florida, you're in a grind. Everyone is around 4-4, around 500, battling for a spot, and points are going to be so needy to have as you head down. It's going to be a real tough division to make it in the playoffs. And so Detroit will be ready to go tonight. But I think if Winnipeg gets back to what they do best, I think this is a game that they should have. And in saying all of that, the regular season last year was great for the Jets too. It's the playoffs where everyone's has to wait and see what's going to happen, and you have to wait 82 games for that. and you have to build to that. So everyone says, well, wait for the playoffs. Well, they still have to play well during the year, get confidence, get comfortable with Scotty Arniel. I'm sure they've known him a long time. He's a guy who's been around the game a long time. I think he's a fantastic coach. I think you're seeing the difference in Ehlers and Perfetti and guys like that. When you hire a new coach, the first thing that happens is 4 players automatically get better. And then 4 players will get worse. And then everyone else kind of melds in and gets in there. And I think Perfetti and Ehlers are 2 guys that are benefiting from the coaching change. Not to say that Rick was bad or anything like that. I'm just saying, but they're benefiting from it, whether it be ice time or how they're used or anything, how they feel about it. But they're playing really well. So hopefully they continue to do well in Winnipeg. And it's glad to see them off to a great start.
What do you expect for this game to look like? Traditionally, the Red Wings and Jets, like so much firepower on both sides. Do you see this being like a 5-4, 6-4 type game again, Gary? I
don't like Winnipeg as a track meet team. I don't like them going out and trying to play the sprint racing and whatever. I like them to go out and calculate it, play their game, a calculated game. That's the one when they're their best. When they start to freelance and move around and try different things, I think that's when they get themselves into trouble. Like I said, they have a definite identity, and it's one that is a good one. Even, their scorers and the guys who are their producing guys, they play a good brand of defense. They play a good 200-foot game. They care about their goals against. So I think you don't want to get into a track meet with Detroit. I think you want to, play them hard, force them to play hard. I think Winnipeg's a heavier, bigger team. So I think they've got to lay that weight on top of Detroit tonight, make them play in their end where I think they struggled defensively a little bit.
Well, Gary, we're going to let you get ready for this game. Are you dressing up for this game tonight? Expecting many costumes. Little Caesars Arena.
I'm saving it up because I'm doing the game Saturday in Pittsburgh, and that's closer to Halloween than this. So I got to save the orange tie for that night. But yeah. But nothing too crazy. I can't even tell you what my wife and I went to for the first Halloween party. I can't even tell you what it was. It's just it was something
that's the 12:30 a.m. show, not the 12:30 Central show.
Count on us asking you the next time we see you.
That's right.
Hey, always a pleasure, guys. Anytime.
Thanks so much for making time, Gary. Appreciate it. Have a great broadcast tonight.
Thank you.
It's Gary Galley joining us. That's the story. The way he told at the beginning was like perfect, because I'm the same as you. I'm like, where is he going with this? This is amazing. And then for it to go as well as it did at the end is fantastic.
We were a tad bit concerned. We asked him about the game against the Leafs, and I think you look at all the comments as everyone's talking as well about, look, it was a game in which they were off. Everybody was off, and that became clear. So it happens. You aren't going 82-0. So as Scott Arniel said, Toronto was a heck of a lot better than we were. They wanted it. They came in here, gave us a punch right in the nose the first 2 periods. They did fight back though. And with their,
Okay. So as you say that, we were going to run a clip from Josh Morrissey before Gary joined us. So this is Josh Morrissey after the loss to Toronto on Monday. And I just like to listen to what he was saying, because the confidence in himself and certainly with the team, even after losing to Toronto on Monday night.
We were hopeful to go 82-0, but that's never been done. It was a tough game for us. Obviously, got behind it. 4-0 there with almost 2 periods to play, and I felt like we did a good job of battling back, make it 4-2, started to get our legs going, and then obviously letting another one. And but we never quit throughout the night, and I think we were 8-0 for a reason, we're 8-1 for a reason. So. But that compete to battle back, and make it a game so that we could pull the goalie and see if we could try to tie it up. I think that's the character of our group, and we'll look at what we need to get better at, get some rest, and move on.
That rest was yesterday. They flew to Detroit, and certainly for the start of the 2-game road trip against the Red Wings.
Yeah, and we've seen that they've been a resilient just in that small sample size so far, because it's not as if they've been blowing out every team 6-0, 6-2. They had 3 overtime. They had the 2-1 overtime wins. So, those games can go away. So they've had to be able to persevere, find different ways to win, and they'll look to do it again tonight.
Well, he's a busy man, and we're going to take up some of his time as he just did a radio hit. He's kind enough to join us from Detroit. He is from The Athletic. It is Max Boltman. Max, thank you so much for joining us. Are you dressing up for tonight's game? And if not, what is your favorite childhood costume from Halloween?
No costume for me tonight. I think I win as Harry Potter like every year. So
Perfect.
I was not the most creative, but that was my standby.
I like it though. Hey, you can't go wrong with Harry Potter.
No,
I
you
think it's a
can't.
great choice. Yeah. Great books, great movies. All right. As you can see, Max, we have a little bit of a theme going throughout this show here today with us being so close to Halloween on the eve of it. But let's talk a little bit about hockey.
Winnipeg Jet fans always want to know how Andrew Kopp is doing. He's such a a likable player here in his time in Winnipeg. He's with Comfer and Kane. Is this how has this line been put together, and how well has it been going since it was put together?
Yeah, so for most of Kopp's time in Detroit so far, they've had him in a matchup role. He's been their 3C. He's been taking all the toughs, and it's suppressed a little bit of the offense that I think he showed, certainly in Winnipeg and in New York before he came to Detroit. This is really his best opportunity he's gotten so far to play a little bit more offense, to play with a Patrick Kane and JT Compher. This is their second line. I thought it was great in the first time out. They tried it last game out. They scored both Detroit goals in that game and against Edmonton. And so I think that's a nice fit. It's really two high IQ complementary players to Kane, and also two heavier players, which I think is key. He's a guy that isn't going to go do a ton of the dirty work down low, but he still thinks it at a high level. And both Kopp and Comfort can do a lot on the retrievals. They can both work themselves into the right positions to find Patrick Kane. And it certainly worked out the first game for him.
Andrew Kopp, one of the most popular players when he played here, and certainly from a media perspective, made such a great interview. I always said that when you would leave an interview with him, it felt as if you had actually learned something, just his ability to either insightfully break something down or just be able to translate it for us. Now, Max, you wrote an article recently, and as we mentioned, you're with The Athletic, so everyone go and check it out for all of your information to get you ready for tonight's game against Detroit. But you wrote about how this lineup maybe we could see stick a little bit, that maybe they found something here. What can we expect, do you think, from this Wings team?
Well, funny enough, they've had a flu bug going around. So, of course, right after I write that, they've got Vladimir Tarasenko missing morning skate and questionable game time decision for tonight. So who knows how long that actually sticks. But that comp for Kane line was a big part of that, why I think they can stick. They've really been juggling lines all season, trying to find something that can stick. They just haven't had a great start to the year. They haven't really had much click up top to bottom through the lineup. They've had that top line with Dylan Larkin, Lucas Raymond, and Alex DeBrincat. That's a pretty consistent mark, but they haven't found the right fits to get the rest of that lineup clicking. What they had against the Oilers was the closest I think they've looked to looking cohesive. And I think part of that is having, those heavier players that can do some retrievals for Kane that can fit with him. Part of it's been, how do you use Marco Kasper, one of the really exciting young players they've called up? He was their 8th overall pick in 2022. He didn't start the year with them, but he gets a call up early in the year. And now it's, how do you use him? Do you use him as a checker when he's an NHL rookie? Do you try to put him with skilled players? They found a nice balance by putting him between Vladimir Tarasenko and another really skilled young player in Jonathan Berggren. And that gave them kind of a true fourth checking line with Christian Fischer, Michael Rasmussen, and Joe Veleno. I think if Tarasenko goes, you'll see that exact same look tonight. If he doesn't, they could go 11-7. They could try to get a call up, and it could jumble everything. But it's kind of been one of the stories of their season. They just haven't found much to click on a consistent basis to have, that consistency. And it's a tough balance. What do you do if you're a coach and your team's not clicking? Do you give them more time to build that continuity, build that chemistry, or do you shake it up and try to find something that works? They've been opting more for the latter, and we'll see how it goes tonight and in the near future here.
It is a tough ask to get into the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. The Red Wings almost got in last year. So last question for you. What is the identity of this team going forward as they try to get back to the playoffs?
Well, it's a perfect question because I think they're still trying to figure that out, right? Last year, they were this high offense, run and gun team. Every game felt like a shootout, and it leaves them just short of the playoffs, right? And they had some guys go out this summer. They had some big raises due to Lucas Raymond and Moritz Seider. Some of that forward depth goes out the door. And even regardless of that, I think they probably needed to play better defense, but especially when you see that many goals go out the door, the best way to replace that is to let fewer goals in. And so they've tried to make that kind of more of their identity. I think there's been a concerted effort, and there's been some improvements in how they defend, especially in transition, trying to keep shots from the outside when they're in the defensive zone. But where it's left them is kind of caught in the middle, I think, right now. They're not scoring at the level they did last year. They've been a little better defensively, but they're still not that like true defensive rock team. And I think the one glimmer that you could find that hints toward that is the pair they've had of their two young defensemen, Moritz Seider and Simon Edvinsson. They've been on their top pair, and they've been excellent together. So I think if you're looking for what the future identity of this team is, it's going to be in a pairing like that, in guys who can be two-way centers, like a Casper. They got another guy, Nate Danielson, on the way, but right now they feel a little bit caught in the middle, and I think that's going to be their biggest challenge in carving through a really tough field to make in the Eastern Conference.
Max, appreciate your time. You came highly recommended from Trevor Thompson, of course, from Red Wings television broadcast. He's told me to tell you that you had to do this, and you did deliver. So thank you so much for your time, and look forward to seeing you down the road.
Well, Trevor's one of my beer league teammates, so I think he's just trying to give me some extra work here, but he's a great guy. Thanks so much for having me on.
Good.
Thanks so much,
Thanks,
Max. Really appreciate it.
Max Boltman from The Athletic joining us. Great show so far. Obviously, I mean, I don't want to speak for myself, but Max Boltman and Gary Galley have been fantastic so far. Just a quick reminder, question of the day. Feel free to weigh in. Your favorite costume from your Halloween days. Let us know about that as we wind up the show.
Yeah, we only have a couple minutes left. To mention that Kyle Connor sitting on the doorstep of .500. Think of the start that he has been off to. He has 8 goals, 14 points in 9 games, tied for 8th in the league in points, tied for 3rd in goals. He's just been a force, whether it be really, I mean, the way he's been playing at 5-on-5 or with the man advantage as well. Okay, so this is a picture that I have.
Okay.
For Halloween. Now, this is not me. I'm going to say that because I didn't have the
I think you're
foresight
lying
to be
personally,
able
but that's just okay.
to bring it. But this, if you are of a certain age, you might appreciate
These
this
masks
sort
are
of
terrible.
these masks. So this is what Jamie was talking about, trying to find costumes there be for his son. People today do not understand what it was like to have to wear these masks. They were for everything. This to me just perfectly embodies the 1980s.
It was hot in there, too.
It was hot. It was very hot.
Because remember, as Jerry Seinfeld joked about, because there's that one hole in the nostril area, it was very hard. And then he always talked about how tight the cheap, crappy piece of crap elastic band that held the mask on your head. And it was like trick or snap, which is what this is a Jerry Seinfeld joke. I don't want to steal it. But it was like the mask, you'd be a trick or treat, and the mask would snap and fall off, and you're holding it on while you're trying to reach out for your candy. Kids don't suffer the way we do.
Kids just don't understand.
Remember when you would always look in apples? Remember the myth that there's razor blades in the apples?
There was a lot.
I mean, that was in Cochrane, Alberta. I don't want to speak for Winnipeg, so I don't know. That's the stuff that I had to deal with.
You know what? We're looking forward to tonight's game. It is on Sportsnet. It's a 6:30 Central start time. That's 7:30 Eastern. I know we have people watching us currently from all over the world. I think I saw Netherlands in there. Saw a variety of different spots. So hopefully, if you are the first time that you have checked in with us, hopefully this will not be your last, because we do this on every game day, 12:30 Central, as we get you set for the game of the day with the Jets tonight. Of course, as mentioned, they are in Detroit. You know who will be there? Chuck Hallebuck will be there.
Yes.
I already saw Chuck tweet out that, of course, he's going to be at the game tonight. Looking forward to seeing how this Jets team bounces back after the loss. And
that's it. These are not masks. So that's all I gotta say. I
That's
don't want.
all.
Well, listen,
Okay.
mine's not a mask.
So very quickly, 2 road games. That's today, Friday. You're going to want to join us at 12:30 when we get you set for the game against Columbus. And then the Winnipeg Jets return home for 4 games. Looking forward to that.
Yeah. Look forward to. Is Friday when we're doing the costumes or no? For 90s?
No, that'll be next week.
Okay,
90s night is coming up at Canada Life Center. So it's going to be our version of Halloween.
Right. Thank you, Stacey. We love Chuck too. On behalf of Max Boltman and Gary Galley, she's Sarah Wesky. I'm Jamie Thomas. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. We'll see you on Friday at 12:30 as the Jets will play the Columbus Blue Jackets.